Welcome back to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be checking out Rooted, Life at the Crossroads of Science, Nature, and Spirit. It's by Lyanda Lynn Haupt. And it's really a beautiful book. It kind of blends like personal experience and then these insightful observations about nature, science, and ultimately urges us to like forge a deeper connection with the natural world.
Yeah, you're going to love this one. Haupt's writing style, it's really engaging, thought-provoking. She gets into some really fascinating concepts, weaving together personal anecdotes with scientific findings and spiritual reflections.
I like that. So to start things off, I kind of want to jump into the opening chapter, Frog Church. It seems Haupt was really influenced by nature mystics, particularly Saint Therese of Lisieux, Julian of Norwich, and Hildegard von Bingen. So what was it about these figures that resonated with her?
You know, I think she was really drawn to their reverence for nature and their ability to kind of perceive the divine within the everyday, workings of the natural world. These mystics weren't just contemplating nature from afar. They were living in deep communion with it. They recognized its sacredness and even integrated it into their spiritual practices.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So their perspectives really shaped Haupt's own relationship with nature, even leading her to create Frog Church as a child. Can you tell us more about this special place and kind of its significance?
Yeah, so Frog Church was like her sanctuary, a place nestled in a wooded canyon near her home. It was a place where she could just quietly observe and connect with nature, more than just a physical space. It was a realm where she could explore her sense of wonder, cultivate a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all living things.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like a truly magical space for a child to develop sort of a profound connection with nature. But beyond the personal significance, is there a broader message here for us as readers?
Oh, for sure. Frog Church serves as a powerful metaphor for the importance of creating our own personal spaces for connection with nature. It doesn't have to be an actual church or anything, but any spot where we can go to observe, listen, and simply be present in the natural world. It could be a park, a garden, or even a small patch of greenery in an urban setting.
That's a good takeaway. It's encouraging us to actively seek out those opportunities for connection, even in our busy, often nature-deprived lives. So Haupt's upbringing seems to have been quite spiritually rich, even beyond her Catholic roots. She explored Buddhism during her teen years in Japan and even found unexpected parallels between these seemingly different spiritual paths. Can you elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, she was drawn to Kuan Yin, the bodhisattva of compassion in Buddhist tradition, and she recognized a resonance between Kuan Yin's compassionate image and the image of Mary, which she had grown up with in Catholicism. This realization highlighted for her how these seemingly disparate spiritual traditions can share common threads and converge on these universal truths.
Wow, that's a great illustration of how exploring different spiritual perspectives can enrich our understanding of our own beliefs and kind of connect us to a larger sense of shared humanity. This exploration of interconnectedness seems to be a recurring theme in Rooted. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Haupt emphasizes the interconnectedness not just between spiritual traditions, but also between nature, science, and spirituality itself. She argues that these seemingly separate realms are actually deeply intertwined, and each offers valuable insights into the others.
So this interconnectedness is something that she actively encourages us to embrace.
Right.
Through various practices and shifts in perspective.
Exactly. And that's where we dive into the core tenets of Rooted, beginning with Haupt's advocacy for practices like barefoot walking and mindful wandering. These practices, she argues, can help us ground ourselves in the present moment and cultivate a deeper awareness of our physical and spiritual connection to the natural world.
Let's start with barefoot walking. Is this like similar to the earthing trend that's been gaining popularity?
Haupt actually addresses that in the book. She shares an anecdote about encountering a woman who claimed to be earthing during a barefoot walk. So apparently this woman believed that walking barefoot on natural surfaces helped to balance the body's energy.
Did Haupt buy into that explanation?
Well, she approached it with a healthy dose of skepticism, admitting that the electromagnetic explanations for earthing seemed a bit, far-fetched. But she doesn't dismiss the practice altogether. She highlights the tangible benefits of barefoot walking that are, scientifically backed.
Okay, what kind of benefits are we talking about here?
Well, she points to its ability to strengthen muscles, correct foot problems, and enhance what she calls physical intelligence.
Okay, physical intelligence. That's an interesting term. Can you unpack that a little further for me?
So it's about developing a deeper awareness of our bodies and how they move in relation to the world around us. It's about tuning into our senses, refining our balance, and cultivating an intuitive understanding of our physical capabilities and limitations.
Okay, so it's more than just physical exercise. It's about fostering a more mindful and connected relationship with our bodies and the environment we move through. That makes sense. Now, what about mindful wandering? How does that differ from simply taking a walk in nature?
So mindful wandering is about approaching our time in nature with a heightened sense of awareness and intentionality. It's about shedding our usual goal-oriented mindset and allowing ourselves to be guided by curiosity, observation, and a sense of wonder.
Hmm. It sounds like a beautiful way to reconnect with that childlike sense of awe and discovery that we often lose as adults. But I imagine some people might find the idea of wandering aimlessly in nature a bit, intimidating.
You're right. There can be some anxieties associated with, venturing into unfamiliar territory, especially alone. Haupt acknowledges this fear, even sharing her own experience of nearly being trampled by a moose during a nighttime walk.
Oh my God, a moose. That sounds terrifying. It's a good reminder that nature can be both beautiful and unpredictable.
Exactly. But Haupt doesn't let fear deter her from advocating for the transformative power of these solo experiences in nature. In fact, she dedicates a whole chapter to exploring the importance of solitude.
Okay, that leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive. Let's talk about solitude, its benefits, and why Haupt considers it so essential for connecting with ourselves and the natural world.
So Haupt argues that solitude offers us this unique opportunity to shed those distractions and expectations of everyday life and truly immerse ourselves in the present moment. It's in those quiet moments of contemplation, away from the buzz of social interaction, that we can really tap into a deeper level of awareness and connect with our inner landscape.
It's interesting because while a lot of people seek out nature as like a place of peace and tranquility, the idea of being alone in the wilderness can evoke feelings of vulnerability and fear.
Yeah.
And Haupt herself shares a pretty harrowing story about a terrifying night alone in a tent, like battling those anxieties.
Yeah, and she acknowledges those fears. She doesn't shy away from sharing her own experiences with vulnerability in nature, but she also highlights the importance of facing those fears head on and recognizing that, the dangers are often amplified by our own anxieties. She even cites statistics from Jen Rose Smith, I think it was, in Outside Magazine, demonstrating that solo hiking is statistically safer than many other risks we take in our daily lives.
That's reassuring in a way. It challenges our assumptions about the dangers of being alone in nature,
Yeah.
and encourages us to really question whether those fears are truly rational or just projections of our own anxieties.
Exactly. And Haupt also delves into the science behind solitude's benefits. She explains how it activates what's called self-referential processes in the brain. So this means that when we're alone, our minds are more likely to wander inward, allowing us to reflect on our memories, emotions, and personal experiences, which can lead to greater self-awareness and a deeper understanding of our values and motivations.
It makes sense that solitude would create space for that kind of internal exploration. We're constantly bombarded with external stimuli and social pressures that it could be really difficult to find that quiet space to simply be with ourselves.
For sure. And solitude also helps reduce what's called the spotlight effect, which is our tendency to overestimate how much other people are judging us. So when we're alone, we're free from that constant pressure of social scrutiny, allowing us to just relax, be ourselves, and connect with a more authentic sense of self.
It's like solitude offers us a kind of freedom from distractions, freedom from judgment, and the freedom to simply be, hitting the reset button on our mental and emotional state, allowing us to reconnect with our core selves.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that sense of reconnection, extends beyond ourselves to encompass the natural world as well. Haupt argues that when we're alone in nature, we're more likely to notice the subtle details, the intricate patterns and that interconnectedness of all living things. Our senses become heightened, our observations more acute, and we begin to appreciate the beauty and complexity of the natural world in a whole new way.
It's like solitude removes the filters we typically see the world through and allows us to experience nature in a more direct and unmediated way.
Exactly. And this heightened awareness can lead to these profound insights and a deeper appreciation for the intelligence and sentience of other species, which is another key theme that Haupt explores in Rooted.
And that's a great segue into our next topic. Let's talk about Haupt's perspective on animal intelligence. She seems to be advocating for a shift in how we view and interact with other species, moving beyond our human-centric biases to recognize the unique ways in which different creatures experience and understand the world.
Yeah, absolutely. She emphasizes the importance of moving beyond the anthropocentric lens, through which we often view the natural world, recognizing that other species possess their own unique forms of intelligence and ways of being.
And she illustrates this point beautifully through a particularly moving anecdote about a doe that had been shot by a hunter. Could you share that story with us?
Sure. So Haupt describes coming across the doe's body in the woods, still warm. There was an arrow protruding from its side, and she was overwhelmed with grief and anger towards the hunter. But then she experienced this profound moment of connection with the dying animal. She removed the arrow and stroked the doe's fur and even whispered words of comfort as it took its final breaths.
That sounds like a deeply spiritual and emotional experience, almost like a ritual of acknowledging the sacredness of the animal's life and death.
Yeah, it was a transformative moment for her. It really prompted her to reflect on the often arbitrary lines we draw between human and animal lives, between which lives we deem worthy of protection and which we don't. She even draws a parallel between the doe's death and the plight of Lolita, the orca, who has been held captive in this tiny tank for decades, highlighting the ways in which we often fail to recognize and respect the intelligence and sentience of other species.
It's a sobering reminder that our actions have far-reaching consequences, and that we need to be more mindful of the impact we have on other beings.
Yeah.
Hope seems to be calling for a more compassionate and ethical approach to our interactions with the natural world.
Absolutely. And it's not just about, large charismatic animals like orcas and deer. She also shares her experiences raising Carmen, a starling, and the remarkable observations she made about the bird's intelligence.
A starling. That's an unusual choice for a pet. What did she learn from Carmen?
So Haupt discovered that Carmen wasn't just mimicking sounds randomly. She was anticipating them. She was actively participating in the daily rhythms of Haupt's household and demonstrating a level of cognitive complexity that we wouldn't typically attribute to a bird.
So she was engaging with her environment in a meaningful way, not just reacting to stimuli, but demonstrating an understanding of patterns, routines, and social cues.
Exactly. It challenges our assumptions about about the intelligence of creatures we often just dismiss as pests or consider to be less cognitively sophisticated than ourselves.
It makes you wonder what other forms of intelligence we're overlooking simply because we haven't learned to recognize or appreciate them. Haupt seems to be urging us to expand our definition of intelligence and acknowledge the unique ways in which other species experience and understand the world.
Yeah, she emphasizes that each species has its own unique way of perceiving and interacting with its surroundings, and it's our responsibility as the species with the most power to impact the planet to recognize and respect those differences.
Speaking of understanding and perception, Hobbes also dedicates a whole chapter to the power of language and its influence on how we relate to nature. It's a fascinating exploration of how the words we use can either connect us to the natural world or distance us from it.
Yeah, she delves into the etymology of words like chant and grammar, highlighting their ancient connections to magic and enchantment. She even suggests that the incantation abracadabra might mean what is spoken is what becomes, implying that language itself has this mystical power to shape reality.
Oh, that's a powerful idea. It makes you think about the responsibility we have as speakers and writers to choose our words carefully, especially when talking about the natural world.
Yeah, and Haupt really emphasizes that point, critiquing the limitations of scientific naming, which often imposes the sense of human control over nature. She advocates for reclaiming local and indigenous names for plants and animals, names that reflect a deeper relationship with the land, and acknowledge those unique stories and cultural significance embedded within those names.
It's about recognizing that language can either reinforce a sense of separation from nature or foster a deeper sense of connection and kinship with all all living beings.
Yeah. Exactly. And she introduces this fascinating concept of using the word key, which is like a gender neutral alternative to it when referring to living beings.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's a way of acknowledging the inherent animacy of all living things rather than reducing them to just inanimate objects. Where did that concept originate?
So Haupt credits Robin Wall Kimmerer, she's a botanist and a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and Kimmerer was searching for a way to move beyond the objectification that's inherent in using using it for living beings, and she sought guidance from a tribal elder and language guide.
And they suggested key.
Well, not exactly. The original suggestion was Akimaditziwin, which translates to a being of the earth.
That's a beautiful term, but a bit of a mouthful.
I know, right? So they shortened it to Ki, which means a being of the living earth, and Haupt suggests that adopting this term could help us shift our perspective and recognize the interconnectedness of all life.
It's a subtle shift, but it speaks volumes about our underlying assumptions and how language can either perpetuate those assumptions or challenge them, leading to a more respectful and reciprocal relationship with nature.
Well said. And this idea of reciprocity is really central to Haupt's concept of charism, which she explores in the next chapter.
That's an interesting choice of words. Charism often evokes images of charisma or charm, like magnetic personalities.
Yeah.
How does Haupt define this term in the context of nature and rootedness?
So it's not really about like outward charm or social magnetism or anything like that. Haupt defines charism as this unique gift that we each possess, a way of contributing to the world that aligns with our passions and our values. It's about recognizing our individual strengths and talents and using them to make a positive impact on the world around us. And she uses this example of Rachel Carson, who felt this deep sense of responsibility to use her writing to speak for the voiceless earth, and that ultimately led to the publication of her groundbreaking book, Silent Spring.
So it's about finding that thing that lights us up, that thing we're uniquely equipped to offer the world, and then using that gift in service of something larger than ourselves.
Exactly. Haupt suggests that discovering our charism often involves this kind of reciprocal conversation with nature. It's about paying attention to what draws us in, what sparks our curiosity, and what fills us with a sense of purpose and meaning.
That really resonates with me. It's about listening to that inner voice that guides us towards our true calling, and recognizing that our unique contributions, however small they may seem, can ripple outward and create positive change.
Yeah, and Haupt believes that our charism might manifest in various ways, through creative expression or activism or scientific exploration, or even just through a deep attentiveness to the natural world and a commitment to living in greater harmony with it.
It's a beautiful and empowering message.
Yeah.
It suggests that we all have something valuable to offer, and that by aligning our actions with our passions and values, we can each play a role in creating a more just and sustainable world.
And this brings us to one of the most profound and perhaps unexpected themes in Rooted, the exploration of death.
Whoa, okay. That took an interesting turn. It's not a topic most people associate with nature writing, but I'm curious to hear how Haupt approaches it.
So she tackles it with this surprising blend of scientific curiosity and spiritual reverence. She doesn't see death as an ending, but rather as a transformation, like a continuation of life in new forms.
That's a perspective we don't often encounter in our death avoidant culture. How does she justify that view?
So she delves into the science of decomposition, describing what's called the thanatomer biome, which is this complex ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and insects that break down our bodies after we die.
The thanatomic biome, that sounds like something out of the science fiction novel.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? But it's a real and fascinating phenomenon. And Haupt points to this unexpected genetic activity that occurs after death, suggesting that there's more to the process than just decay. She sees it as this remarkable orchestration of life, where our bodies, once vessels for individual consciousness, become integrated into the larger web of life, nourishing new growth and contributing to this ongoing cycle of death and renewal. It's a powerful reframing of what's often seen as a morbid and frightening subject. Instead of fearing death, we can view it as a natural part of the ecological cycle, a return to the earth from which we came, and a contribution to the ongoing flourishing of life.
Yeah, and she even injects a bit of humor into the discussion by sharing her decision to prepare for her own death by sewing her own burial dress.
Wait, what? She sewed her own burial dress.
Yes, she describes it as this simple dress made from natural materials and adorned with these embroidered quotes from poets and writers who've inspired her.
That's both morbid and strangely beautiful at the same time. It's like she's reclaiming the process of dying, making it a personal and even like an artistic act.
Yeah. It's a powerful way of confronting our mortality and embracing the interconnectedness of life and death.
This whole conversation has been such a rich exploration of interconnectedness between different spiritual traditions, between nature and science, between humans and other species, and ultimately between life and death itself.
Yeah, it's really been a journey through the very essence of what it means to be rooted, to recognize our place within this intricate web of life, and to embrace our role as active participants in the ongoing story of the natural world.
Well said. If you're looking for a book that'll challenge your assumptions, inspire you to connect with nature in a deeper way, and leave you with a sense of wonder and possibility, I highly recommend checking out Rooted: Life at the Crossroads of Science, Nature, and Spirit by Lyanda Lynn Haupt. You might just find yourself transformed by the experience.